Matthew chapter 18 starts off so dynamically and in such a fury that it's hard not to let it rattle you a little bit. You have to ask yourself, are you better than the disciples? Well, here 18 starts off with the disciples in an argument. And that argument is, who's going to be the greatest? We're the disciples of Jesus. Which one of us is going to be the greatest in heaven? And Jesus answers them and says simply, if you're not humble, you won't even make it to heaven. That's how 18 starts off. He goes on to say about righteousness. He says, listen, if anything is offensive to you or anything causes you to sin, then you must eliminate it out of your life, if anything. And we think, okay, if our mother, brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, magazines, internet service, something like this causes us to sin, we need to cut it off. But Jesus makes it even more so. He says if your hand causes you to sin, if your fingers, if your eyes, gouge out your eyes, cut off your hands, pluck out your eyes, whatever causes you to sin, remove it. Because it's better to go into heaven blind or with one eye than to go to hell with both. Jesus really gets real. Let's look at it again. He deals with sin. He says, how do we deal with sin? Sin is terrible. How do we deal with sin? He tells us how to deal with it with ourselves. Cut it off, chop it off, eliminate it with us. But what if it's in the church, in our gatherings? He says, if someone is sinning in your gathering, just go talk to them, woman to woman, man to man, one-on-one, brother to sister, sister to brother, and just say, listen, this is not good. He says, if they don't want to listen, then grab two others so that everything can be established in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. So he says, listen, grab 2 or 3 others. Then the 3 of you in love. And Timothy tells us how to correct, right? Correct, rebuke, and encourage, all with great patience, basically all with great love. And he says, if they don't want to receive you, go and bring 2 or 3 others and talk to them. If they don't want to receive the 2 or 3 others and remove the sin, he says, in that case, just tell it to the church. And if they don't want the whole assembly, and if they don't want to listen to the entire assembly, listen to what he says. He says, if they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. Treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. That means one of 2 things. Either toss them out of the assembly, the gathering, or treat them like a pagan or a tax collector in the sense that they are sinners and they need to be saved. So you need to start back over with teaching them the gospel. Jesus died for their sins. They need to repent and be baptized. You need to start all over with them because obviously they weren't truly converted. Let me leave you with this. The unmerciful servant is how the chapter closes out. And the unmerciful servant, we'll see here in 18, is forgiven of sin of a lot, but refuses to forgive someone else of their sin who sinned against them just a little. And they end up being tormented because of their lack of forgiveness. And God says, Jesus says, this is exactly what's going to happen to you if you're unwilling to forgive people, not with your mouth, but from your heart. You can lie and forgive people from your mouth, but if you truly and don't deeply forgive them from your heart, then God's saying he won't forgive you. Such a deep and tremendous chapter. Enjoy Matthew 18.